So, with DMC5's recent announcement and a few days to digest what we saw, I thought I'd give you my initial response and reactions on what the game basically is. I guess the main reason I'm doing this is because I did post the Discord's reaction to it, but I didn't really get to post my own personal reaction to it. So obviously at first I'm going to start off by saying that my initial response was a little negative, that's for sure, and that's for a number of reasons. So first off, it was a pretty big shock. Nobody was expecting this to turn up at Microsoft's conference. Everything led to Sony having this for a lock on their conference. Honestly, I wasn't even planning on tuning in to Microsoft's conference. I just sort of did so on a whim, just to see, what they have. But yeah, that shock that came with the announcement sort of just compounded everything, really. So, looking at the game, it's no longer very stylized or anime-like. It's very photorealistic, which, took a lot of time to sink in. It was kind of hard to see what we were looking at, really. Everything had basically been changed up, so all the character models and everything was just, recognizable, but at the same time that it was kind of a big change. So obviously it wasn't inherently a, oh my god, this is garbage sort of reaction. It was more of a, wait, what the fuck am I actually looking at here? Another reason for having a negative reaction, I guess, or for a personal reason of mine, is that I only play these games in Turbo. So for those of you who don't know what Turbo is basically just a mode that speeds up everything by 20% really, other than cutscenes, obviously. So when you go from, playing Turbo for like years and years, starting on DMC3 SE and, moving on to DMC4, looking at standard non-Turbo gameplay, everything does seem to be quite slow. So obviously when I did initially see the trailer and we saw this, the snippets of gameplay, and everything did look kind of slow, I was kind of put off at first. But obviously that's something that, once you look at it in retrospect and you realize, wait, this is non-turbo, you step back and you look at it out of context, it's not really a big deal. Also, the fact that it was a 360p or 480p stream for me, mainly because the internet was acting up that day, basically made everything look sort of muddied and garbage. The frame rate wasn't too great either. I believe it was a 30 frames a second, stream. So that definitely made things look a lot worse than they actually were. It was also kind of hard to hear or understand what was even being said, considering everyone in that fucking Discord was popping off like a lunatic. So yeah, there was a little bit of a negative reaction at first, just mainly because of just confusion, really. I didn't really know what I was looking at, and it wasn't until we got right near the end of the trailer where we realized that, hang on, these are the characters we know and love, that I was like, oh, okay, you know what? This isn't another reboot or a continuation of the reboot or anything. It's the game we know and love. So I want to kind of just dive into it more, really. Having a few days to digest on what we've seen, this is turning, or shaping up to be one of the greatest DMC games, if not the best. With our main man Itsuno himself saying that this is the best game he's ever made, and that he expects to exceed our expectations. Needless to say, I am fucking hyped for this, no doubt. I think anybody who's, regardless of whether they're a fan or not, are fucking hyped for this shit. It looks like we're getting a DMC with an actual fucking budget, and it's been cooking for about 4 years, so, and it's right around the corner, so there's going to be a lot of polish. It's not a DMC4 situation where the budget and time was cut. And it shows, because Itsuno himself stated over Twitter that he cried after the trailer was released, or the game was announced, because he was so happy and elated that he was finally able to show off what he was working on, his masterpiece. So obviously, if there was any doubt that I'm not looking forward to the game, hopefully that's cleared things up. 100% I am on board. I know there are a lot of people out there who still, it's not gelling with them, which it's fair enough, but it's been 10 years. We should have expected a change. Obviously some people might have trouble comprehending a change this large, but it's change nonetheless that you need to be prepared for. And change isn't inherently a bad thing. It's not change for the sake of change. It's just the series had to be modernized, and they've gone about it the right way, to be honest. So obviously they're working with the RE engine. Everything's been sort of scanned in. Everything's, they're going for the photorealistic look. And I believe Capcom, or even Tsuna himself, stated that they wanted people to know the caliber of this title simply by looking at it, and graphics is the main thing. So the graphics got a huge overhaul without sacrificing gameplay. So they obviously have confirmed that it's still going to be 60 frames a second, which shouldn't be doubted, should not be doubted. I mean, obviously the reboot was launched at 30, but we're dealing with Capcom here, not Ninja Theory. So the game obviously opens up with Nero and Nico. So Nero's obviously back. Nico's a new, well, not technically a new character. She was in a DMC4 novel, believed to be the granddaughter of the lady who made Ebony and Ivory for Dante. So there is a little throwback there, a little nod to people who basically looked at sort of extracurricular material for the series. So obviously Nero's changed. He's got a whole revamp with his design, which it's fine. I'm happy with. It was sort of an interesting take when we first saw the trailer, because we didn't know who exactly he was, especially because even though he had Red Queen, he did not have the Devilbringer, which is major to his character and seems to be a major plot point in this game. So obviously later on in the trailer we see Virgil, and yes, it has confirmed to be Virgil by a lot of screen caps and sort of Photoshop magic. Basically take his Devilbringer off him, just strip him completely of it. Obviously he's done this because Yamato's held in the Devilbringer, as well as potentially a portion of his soul. So Nero is basically left with no arm, and a significant amount of his power just lost, and he gets that replaced with the Devil Breaker, which is a mechanical robot arm. Basically functions just like the Devilbringer, and more theories sort of going around at the moment that that's going to be his sort of style switch thing, where he switches between different arms, which we've seen hints of it here or there in the gameplay. But that just adds to why we were so confused, because it was just like, well, this sounds and looks like the Nero we know and love, kind of, but he doesn't have the defining traits. So it was like, what is this? But then obviously once we get to that moment in the trailer, we realize, oh, okay, we know exactly who this is and what's happening. So looking at the trailers, it seems as though there is a mass worldwide invasion, potentially bringing back Mundus as the Demon Emperor, because we do see a character with 3 eyes, similar to Mundus, or Mundus, or whatever you want to say. Shit starts to pop off, humans start to be sacrificed, this giant demonic tree seems to be growing. So shit's really hit the fan. Dante's apparently nowhere to be found, and you've got Nero and Nico sort of acting as a first response unit in a sense. We see some gameplay in Redgrave City, which is a cute little throwback for those of you who know all about Tony Redgrave and whatnot. Things seem to be set on a much larger scale. When Temeneguru sort of popped up in DMC3, we barely saw anything of the outside world. DMC2, everything was sort of the outside world, but it was fucking garbage, and obviously DMC1 was sort of localized into one location. So it seems that they're moving on from that. We see portions of a flooded city, we see the city streets, and I'm assuming we're going to be fighting in that tower as well, or in hell at some point. So, along with the big budget comes big grander locations, which I'm excited for, to be honest. We also get a little snippet of Dante there right at the end, old man Dante sporting a beard, sort of putting at ease people who want him back. But Capcom have been trying to set up Nero as this series' new protagonist, starting with 4 really. But as this is touted to be the end of the Sons of Sparta saga, no doubt Dante's going to pass over the reins to Nero for future installments. Going back to the whole Nero and his arm being missing, we get introduced to a third mysterious character who obviously seems to be a corrupt Virgil. Now, the only issue is that appearance doesn't really mesh with what we see on the cover art of this game, or the key art, where we have a third character, sleeveless, black hair, covered in tattoos. So we don't know. We don't know if Virgil's going to be an antagonist, or if Virgil is going to be a playable character. Because the game has been confirmed to have 3 playable characters, we don't know. If you want my personal thoughts, I believe the big bad guy we see sitting on that throne is Mundus. who again has taken control of Nilo Angelo or Virgil, sent him out to do his bidding, and either that or Virgil's broken free when the Tower of Doom, Tree of Doom, sprouted out, and he's come back to reclaim what was his. Theories going around that this game is set after DMC2. Capcom in their press release have officially stated that there have been some years that have passed since DMC4, so this sort of DMC2 cap that the series has had may have finally been broken, because obviously Capcom refuses to acknowledge DMC2 and has put it so far off in the future that whatever can happen, happens before it. But we do see an old and grizzled Dante sort of riding his motorcycle, potentially a throwback to, a direct call out of DMC2's ending, where he rides into and potentially out of hell on that damn motorcycle of his. Whatever the case, Dante has been MIA, and Nero has sort of taken over the Devil May Cry business. Trish, Lady, Lucia, and Kyrie are nowhere to be found. We don't know if they're going to be appearing. They probably will be, no doubt. They are fan favourites and series staples, so there's no reason as to why they shouldn't come back. Moving on to the main event, or why people play this game or this series in the first place, the gameplay. So obviously we see lots and lots of throwbacks to DMC4 with the moveset and whatnot with Nero, because obviously he still has Red Queen. Comparisons to DMC4 have been made, so DMC4's non-turbo gameplay seems to be almost the exact same speed as DMC5, so the game doesn't seem to have been slowed down drastically or anything, so that's nothing to worry about. Nero can still max act, he can still use his Devil Bringer, I guess, but obviously Devil Breaker with added functionality, so things are shaping up to be great. We have seen a lot of new sort of mechanics be introduced, which, it seems like Nero is now his own sort of character. No gameplay of Dante as of yet, or of this mysterious third character titled V. Like, oh guys, I don't know who that could fucking be. It's not like it's Virgil or anything. But Capcom have stated that there is more to come in Gamescom, which is in August. And they have also stated that there will likely be a playable demo at Gamescom, which, fucking get me tickets over there now. But, as with everybody else, I'm just glad that the game is being made. That Itsuno is finally able to reveal it, because we've known about the existence of this game for quite some time. It's just either Capcom or Sony or whoever it was has basically been stopping Itsuno from revealing this, causing him to have to apologize on Twitter every year, likely causing him a great amount of stress, because this is his magnum opus, and it's, not being able to show the world what you've been working on must really fucking suck. But it's Itsuno. We should not be worrying about gameplay at all. That's what he's known for. We've got this new budget now. Everything seems to be going smooth. New engine, new consoles. The game has been titled to be ambitious. So, guys, I don't think we have anything to worry about. There are other few tidbits here and there that I haven't touched upon, but I thought I'd just sort of mention. So, obviously, with the enemies having a new design, sort of being grotesque, the game has been giving an M for mature rating, which is the first in the series, which is why we're able to get Nero's dismemberment, as well as lots of enemies just spouting lots of blood and gore. So again, the series has taken a more mature approach to the story and the game itself. It's not to say that there's going to be blood and gore everywhere. We still have series throwbacks to older enemies like the Hell or the Sins, as well as some of the Blades or the Frosts and whatnot. So it's not like the game has taken a gritty, edgy sort of turn for the worse, some may say. We don't know much about the soundtrack or who's making or producing it. We do know we got some DMC pop for Nero, which people seem to be very receptive of. I am too. People out there making 10-hour edits because they're so goddamn hyped. But then Dante, obviously, when he shows up, he's got his butt rock playing. So I think maybe we'll get a mix of old and new in terms of the soundtrack. So I'm just going to leave that there for now. We've been going for near on 15 minutes. I'm pumped. I know you guys are. Expect a lot more coverage of this game on this channel. It just feels so surreal. 10 years of waiting for this. It's crazy. You know, Itsuno and Matthew Walker, who are the director and producer respectively, flat out ignored the reboot, saying that this is a true sequel to the franchise, made specifically for us, the fans, and it shows. You know, some people might be upset, but fuck them, to be honest. We're getting the sequel we always wanted. And on that note, I'm going to leave it here, guys. Thank you guys for watching. It has been a pleasure covering this game, and I guess I'll see you soon.